doubts, Robert. Prisons do not meet Christian values and ethical standards. People should care and not punish criminals. Punishment does not deter them. It does not work. People are now probably afraid to release prisoners who are just going to commit another crime.
I think prison promotes crime rather than prevents it. Seems sad, but I read somewhere that so many released prisoners are often back inside again within a year in every country in the world.
Well, it keeps them of alcohol and drugs for a bit.
No, it doesn't. They get them inside prison anyway. Prisons are very creative in getting drugs and drink.
I think the medical profession must do creative research to find a solution for the crime. In medicine, we find solution to all physical and mental problems with an unending supply of expensive alternative medications. The pharmaceutical companies are delighted. They make a bomb and sometimes even gently share it with us, as they encourage us to give out even more medications.
Yes, Mother. Many medications don't work anyway, but we always have excuses.
Yes, dear. And we do try for rigorous ethical standards as we treat both mind and body to bring either cure or relief or at least comfort. So I think ethics are the key.
Even if there are no ethics in business?
Yes, we must treat crime as a sickness.
Agreed. So we must encourage Pavlova doctors towards the electronic solution. I like the idea of a quick fix. EBS, electronic brain stimulation, to remove the motivation to commit crime. Might even be helpful for healthcare too.
Disagree. Research too difficult, possible brain damage, possible other side effects. Political people are very frightened of negative side effects, so it may take a long, long time to get official approval. All sorts of political, medical and ethical hurdles to overcome, may even work in short term and tend disaster. It fails terribly in the long term. There is that problem. Got to wait 10 years for a possible failure, too complex and difficult. The Pavlova medical profession would never propose the idea to the government. Forget it, Mother.
I am very patient, Robert, especially when I get my own way in the end.
We shall see, Robert. Polzer was negative, but I think also talking to some Pavlova medical friends about the EBS idea. Pavlova moves slowly, but they may even have done something about it. What is the latest news?
The Pavlova medical profession has proposed a solution to the current crime epidemic. Treatment instead of punishment with EBS, electronic brain stimulation. With rigorous historical ethical standards, doctors treat both mind and body to bring either cure or relief, or at least comfort. So why not treat for crime control?
Government, business and church firmly propose spending limited funds to research EBS, electronic brain stimulation for crime control? God, people believe crime deserves punishment, not treatment. Extensive neurological research to develop a new EBS to remove the motivation to commit crime would take years and costly research funding. Side effects may be terrible.
Oh my goodness. They did something. I never dreamt they would. Well done. I wonder now how the Pavlovian leaders in politics, business and church will react to a medical solution to a crime with EBS, electronic brain stimulation. We hope for a research project. Now we must use our 20 years of UN contacts in Geneva to try and motivate some funding. Must contact Polzer and try again. If I can remember the telephone number, Robert, I agree with Polzer, brain manipulation is going too far, with too much risk. Yes, but government try to influence everybody all the time. The mind of people are being controlled all the time by almost unlimited media pressure from politics, business, religion, education, social systems, internet, TV, radio, newspapers, public protests, laws, etc.
I agree with George. Ethics must be upheld. Research EBS in 2013. Medicine does so many wonderful things for both body and mind, including complex electronic examination and testing, diagnosis, treatment, medications, psychiatry, massage, surgery. even transplantation, etc.
Perhaps in the future we may even figure out how to transplant a brain.
No more English, please, George. Please be more serious. Medicine does affect the brain. Perhaps EBS may be efficient and effective for both crime and control and health. Who knows the brain limits until we research it? I want to find a way to safely release Timo for the sake of his mother.
Agreed. We want to change the criminal personality to motivate criminals to search for happy, non-violent lives.
I think that's a bit too dull for them. Me too, Dad. People like risk and adventure and a bit of violence too. Well, young ones do, not the old fogies. Well, perhaps we all do. I do.
Perhaps EBS could even change your mind, George. I've been trying to do it for years without much success. I need some hope.
Not yet there, be patient. But I remember WSM, women are superior to men in the end. As men get older and older, women take control of everything. Be patient, I'm not quite ready to go. Maybe next week.
Thank you for the hope, George. But seriously, I do wonder, is EBS the key to a happy, good life with women and without crime? It must be ethical with only voluntary, not compulsory application. Perhaps it could help so many people to have a happy life in a warm social system with almost no crime and no arguments.
No arguments? Life would be so dull. I love arguments. My friends do too. Some people argue all the time. They love it and join huge public protests against something. Politics, law, economics, even ethics, Mother. They love the excitement of streets demonstrations, shouting like crazy. They may be very disappointed by your view of a relaxed and peaceful EBS for a happy life.
Yes, Robert. Even fanatics get so excited, they even forget what they are protesting about. A happy life depends upon how we perceive reality.
Well, I perceive reality well today, but I can't remember how I perceived it last week. That is a bit embarrassing. What was your name, Robert? Oh yes, Robert, I remember.
Well, in 2013, depression is a worldwide epidemic, so perhaps EBS would be wonderful treatment to help negative people to change their perceptions of life. So let's encourage our Pavlovian medical colleagues to pursue EBS research with another proposal to government. But we know more English humour, please, George.
But what will be the reactions from the Pavlovian leaders? I think they will say that EBS is impossible, uncontrollable, dangerous to government, business, and they are afraid to dare to let it happen. The churches would say that miracles is in the domain of God and the church, based on faith, not electronics. Why is my view of the world so negative today? Am I getting older?
Robert, I'm not happy with negative responses without any alternative solutions or cure, please. Perhaps with so many stressful neurological problems in 2013, EBS may even be the treatment of the future. The drug companies would not be happy, but it might work.
No, just a dream, Mother. EBS may have terribly dangerous side effects.
Why not try? Perhaps impossible now in 2013. So much accepted medical practice was first considered to be impossible and unacceptable. 70 years ago, antibiotics were impossible. 30 years ago, heart transplant was impossible.
Agreed. 15 years ago, complex electronic diagnosis was impossible. Even the Economist just reported that the new model of the brain is becoming available for almost unlimited new research. EBS is being researched by Chicago, Mayo Clinic, etc. So anything is possible over time.
No, not enough Pavlovian government financial support for rigorous EBS research and testing for crime prevention.
So we must use our 20 years of UN contacts in Geneva to try and motivate some funding.
True, but the crime epidemic is worldwide in so many countries now. Perhaps with EU, UN and other international financial support and participation, it could achieve an ethical solution to crime. And my friend Obama is always a possibility for helping dangerous solutions like Syria, Iraq, Egypt, etc., where an EBS click might calm people down. He might be delighted with EBS as an ethical, truthful solution to so many of political opponents and problems.
Not much truth in politics and business, and even the church nowadays may have some difficulty in deciding what the truth is. They talk about it a lot, but don't do it.
How true. I like young priests the young priest that became so enthusiastic about golf that he missed Sunday morning mass for a round of golf. God observed him with an angel on the first hole of over 250 metres. His drive became so godly powerful that he achieved a hole-in-one for the first time ever. The angel was disturbed and said to God, "I thought you would punish him." God replied, "I did. How could he ever tell anyone about a hole-in-one when he missed mass to play golf?"
Not much truth in business. Crime and corruption are accepted as normal. Senior executive financial political candidates who need the cash to get elected. Politicians appreciate the cash and gently respond to crime accordingly with huge fines, but no prison unless it gets publicity to embarrass him.
Have you no ethics in business, George?
I do my best, but I forget easily. So, say the new Pavlovian Business School director who needs cash to start his new school, I have to be polite. EBS is a great challenge. Let us wait for the new reaction of the Pavlovian government.
Dad, to survive in this impossible modern world, we have to worry and also be able to laugh a bit.
Agreed. Now I think that as doctors we enjoy both golf and impossible problems. When we got together, I'm too old for a new dream. Now for another hole-in-one with President Polzer. Until tomorrow. Agreed?
Agreed.
Agreed.
The boys are busy, so now can we talk freely together about EBS? I have tried and failed twice. I am past it. Should I give up? I wanted to use our 20 years of UN contacts in Geneva to try motivating some funding. Should I give up?
George, have you already forgotten by my creativity test with the bath? Always look for another alternative. You know, sometimes I wish you were an archaeologist rather than a doctor.
Why?
Because an archaeologist is the best husband a woman can have. The older she gets, the more interested he is in her, and I would love that so much.
Thank you, dear. I will remember that, hopefully.
I am happy, dear. We may well get more government reaction to EBS soon. Pavlova wants to be in the EU and has its own way of working or not working. What are the real values of Pavlova culture that has so easily accepted crime and corruption as natural for so long? I wonder.
Could it be like Nigeria, Russia, Italy, Greece, Spain, China, etc., etc., etc.? Look, don't worry, the impossible can happen. The secret of getting ahead is to get started.
Oh, here is the news.
Government accepts EBS trial. Research of electronic brain stimulation for the crime epidemic may resolve prison capacity problems. All leaders agree because something must be done now. Gives hope for the future to get into the European Union.
Pavlova accepts research trial of EBS. We'll need years of research to determine side effects. We'll need to find huge international funding and support. May not work, but no better alternative available. May encourage faith in church towns.
Impossible, George, but perhaps it will happen.
Hooray! The impossible has happened! Plus or minus, they all seem to agree to a trial to the EBS. The impossible has happened again. Hooray! Now, I must do something and help Polzer to find finance to do it. We must use our 20 years of UN contacts in Geneva to try and motivate some funding. We must help him. I hope we can really trust the Pavlovian people with new UN cash.
Good question, dear. Of course, we can always trust the medical profession. Well, almost always. Mind you, in healthcare, we can never guarantee results. When one treatment fails, we try another, perhaps more expensive medication or procedure. If we fail, the patient may never tell us, but can always go to a traditional healer again or the pharmacy for hundreds of alternatives for cash.
The exciting question is, could EBS really work not only for both crime control and healthcare? Could we prevent cancer, sickness, stress, and even to antisocial behaviour? Even my memory too.
No more English humour again, please, George. Be practical. Crime control is the real target. Your secret objective is being young again. Who knows? Without stress, people could all be relaxed and kind to each other with no more arguments. Oh, paradise, or is it a bit boring? Well, perhaps happiness is in the head anyway, and EBS will find it. But here is chance for Timo and maybe his mother too. Impossible?
I seem to remember my old medical response to an impossible new healthcare problem. It's impossible, but let's do it anyway.
I agree, but for me, it must also be ethical.
So I must try to get them UN international research and funding help. I can also try my INSEAD old business school contacts, help and finance, so that EBS research can soon begin. The impossible can happen, but it may take a few years. With my on and off memory, I might be a bit worried.
We must never get too worried. For every problem, there's always a cure somehow.
A cure?
Yes, a cure. Like the wife who complained that her husband always came home so late every night. Take my advice, said a good friend. When my husband came home at 3 o'clock in the morning from my bed, I shouted out, "Is that you, Jim?" And that cured him.
Cured him how?
The friend replied, "Well, you see, her husband's name was Bill. So no need to worry, George. I will find a way to cure you."
Thank you, dear. So, better to bed early and talk again tomorrow to resolve my worries.
Agreed. Perhaps you will have forgotten them all by tomorrow.
So good to talk with you, Alfred. Key question on my mind is, do we have crazy parents now living in Pavlova?
Crazy? Perhaps. It's been an exciting week in Pavlova for them to get an agreement, even research EBS. The impossible has happened. I think it's crazy, but it is the reality. Can they really use the 20 years of UN contracts in Geneva to motivate some funding?
I'm skeptical about EBS, but Dad and Mother are convinced and enthusiastic. They have wonderful UN financial context. What is your judgment as a Chicago professor?
I must say, Robert, really begin to think Dad is over the hill, but he still seems to be able to convince people on impossible medical projects like EBS. And if he can persuade and get funding, then the cash will talk.
Yes, now Mother has ethics as her key priority, except of course in family planning.
Really?
She insists that birth control is confidential data of the wife, not obliged to tell her husband, asks why she does not seem to get pregnant, despite his great nightly efforts. Private information deliberately concealed does not seem at all ethical to me.
Agreed. But perhaps the husband keeps some little affair secrets too.
That seems to be the family world of 2013, just like business, where truth and ethics are sometimes so discreetly ignored.
And now Mother supports our crazy dad on EBS with her strong determination, even though she knows that research have been trying with EBS for years without much success. Could it happen now in a little Pavlova? I wonder.
Well, I don't know, Alfred, but we must help them to do whatever they want, even if they want to be in the clouds. But should we join the EBS crusade? I don't know. Hopes or illusions?
Good question. Hopes? Mine? Yours?
It applies to us all, but we are lucky to be in Pavlova together for serious discussion now, face to face to resolve our worries.
Worries?
Well, Alfred, the government decision to authorise and finance EBS research is an amazing challenge and opportunity, but how long it will take to achieve a validated EBS product? 20 years? Dad will be 102, and I should be 51.
Yes, and with a wife and 5 children to look after, with or without a click. While EBS research goes on for several years and a huge budget to test the possible side effects, no immediate side effects, but horrible possible long-term side effects.
Oh dear. So I must confess, Alfred, I don't believe in EBS. But I feel I must help my crazy dad. Maybe I should come here to help with the research after my family practice residency ends next year. Got to protect research funding in this crazy crime and corruption environment. Perhaps I should do an MBA at Dad's new business school.
Well, that is very creative, Robert, and ethical too. Mother would be pleased, especially if Timo gets released. We have not talked about it. EBS is not my work, but I'm worried about what the politicians might do if EBS really works. It's frightening. The potential of controlling populations is horrific.
Should we wish it not to work?
Not exactly, because the real priority is the good crime-free life of the people. But I wonder, is a crime-free, healthy life what people seek as they live with a new healthcare for over 130 years?
What do you mean? 130 years? That seems impossible in 2013. Perhaps from 2018, with EBS, we may begin to survive longer and longer.
Yes, but in 1918, living to 90 years was a dream, which in 2013 is now a reality.
I have to laugh. Trying to imagine family life, great-great-great-grandparents all around, either arguing with each other or having a peaceful life with EBS clicks. Perhaps we all need some crime and disagreement in our world to make life more interesting and amusing.
Maybe. Who knows? Should EBS ever be allowed, but just to repress like dishonest chemical weapons?
Honesty is always the best policy when there is money in it.
Robert, never let your morals prevent you from doing what is right. I wonder if the news is on now.
The Pavlova government has approved medical profession research on EBS to resolve the 2013 crime epidemic. With UN funding allocated with international cooperation, Pavlova hopes to develop and test an EBS crime for crime prevention by 2018. Would EBS success lead to the long-awaited admission to the European Union, which is so vital for the Pavlova economic development?
Pavlova EBS approved for research at last. Could young and old Pavlova prisoners, after voluntary EBS, be safely released into society? What are the dangerous long-term side effects of EBS? There are so many dangerous questions to be answered over time.
Well, Dad's done it again. Crazy, but some UN funding approved. Seems impossible. My key worry is side effects that we can't even imagine at this moment.
True. Years to develop EBS, years to test, years to get legal approval by the Pavlovan government with strict controls that really work. It seems no wonder how it might be misused by politicians to get votes. Are we developing a dangerous chemical weapon?
Well, my dad's too. Pavlova wants to get into the EU, needs to control crime and has no better solution. But will the EU believe Pavlova can become crime-free? Will it need 20 years more of ethical EU research to validate it? Hence, no early admission.
So the key question is, how will it end up in politics, business and the church? There will be gentle people that would have had an EBS and then more aggressive ones who will refuse it. The non-EBS people who may seem a new opportunity to be aggressive and get away with it needs research. Like every other major healthcare research project, it will all take time to achieve.
Could be a disaster, Alfred, in so many ways. Another key question, are we guilty for helping Pavlova to start it?
I have so many questions.
So what will happen?
Must we decide?
Of course. And if it worries you?
Yes. And I can always just take EBS click.
Yes, but I like the arguments. They can be done.
True. Now, as a family, we're all emotionally invested in EBS and have to look after our crazy parents. So let us keep touch on the web and meet here every year to discuss and see what progresses and problems and dangers. And as the venture begins,
Let us hope it will help Pavlova and our parents in so many ways that we cannot even imagine just now. With so many possible side effects, we know what could happen. I have so many questions.
could be expensive. Like the visit to my lawyer late last month. In the office, I inquired about the rates. $50 for 3 questions, replied the lawyer. Isn't that awfully steep? I replied and said, yes. And what's your third question? We both had to laugh. On we go together, agreed?
Agreed.
Here we are in Pavlova for the Great Success meeting in January 2018, 5 years since the EBS adventure began in 2013. Welcome, President Polzer. Dear Polzer, and Robert too, this is a great day. I am sorry my son Alfred cannot be with us.
Everything going so well.
I am amazed.
The impossible news is wonderful.
After 5 years of research with international cooperation, Pavlova has now developed and rigorously tested the EBS for crime prevention. It works well without significant side effects so far. With voluntary EBS, so many prisoners may now begin to be safely released into society, with huge prison cost savings. EBS is now legally approved by the Pavlovian government with strict controls. With crime controlled, is finally controlled, Pavlova may be welcome into the EU at last.
Pavlova has now developed and adopted EBS for crime control. Will it really work to end the long-term epidemic? What will be the short-term and long-term side effects? EU admission will require rigorous evaluation and more research funding.
I am amazed that EBS could achieve so quickly. It was thanks to your help and promoting UN international cooperation and funding. Your 20 years of UN contacts in Geneva really paid off. So much cash came.
Perhaps the only benefit of old age is to still have old friends with cash. Cash is a great motivator for achieving the impossible.
Yes, indeed, George, especially in Pavlova.
Well, I'm so pleased it could happen. Still around 88. It gives me the illusion of being useful.
Yes, and now we have made EBS work, resolve the crime epidemic, release the prisoner and get into the EU.
Ah, is that all?
Just Robert's English humour. My hope also is for release of Timo from prison and the care of his mother. Have to accept some uncertainty, but hooray for an ethical solution to the problems of crime and prison.
Yes, Pavlova can begin to release prisoners and reapply for the EU at last. I am so proud of it.
Should be enough to keep you busy. My memory is going a bit, but I am so happy for any chance to help.
That will be great. And how is your ethical business school going, George?
Yeah, give us the school good news. Yes, Dad. Pavlova Ethical Business School is going so well going. Now that handed it over to the new Pavlova director.
Yes, Robert, I should thank you for that.
And I have got an MBA and become a crime and corruption expert. It